Hey everyone, Snoopy Moo here, back with another video, doing something different again, doing something new again. Um, yeah. So I think I had mentioned in previous videos that I wanted to start kind of branching out away from video games, still keeping a root in video games, but I want to explore some other topics, other mediums, other types of entertainment media that I like. And one of those things that I love very much, very dear to my heart, is music. Um, Music is pretty much my life. Outside of video games and anime, honestly, none of those hold a candle of importance to me in comparison to music. Um, it's everything to me. I'm one of those people that have to listen to music constantly. It like pretty much dictates my life, and I come from a very musical family. Almost everyone in my family plays some sort of instrument or sings. Um, it has um, it has some sort of musical background, and I am no exception to that. I absolutely adore music, and yeah. So today, I wanted to branch out and talk about some of my all-time favorite albums, my all-time favorite music albums. Now, it is hard to narrow it down to a select few. In this case, I'm going to be talking about 25 albums. Now, I'm only limiting myself to one album per artist. Otherwise, this whole list would only be like two bands. But so I'm just gonna talk about some of these standout albums. Now, there are other albums from my childhood that I wanted to put on here. There's some that are from bands that never even really made it, like local bands, albums that my dad used to bring me home from shows. My dad was a professional concert designer, and yeah, and I would be introduced to stuff through him from the shows he did. Um, a lot of the music I listen to now, though, a lot of the like pretty much all these albums, I got into as an adult. Um, More recently, like within the last 10, 11 years. But I've always been interested in music. Um, I, from a young age, music was a big thing. Just to give you a little look into my musical background, I listened to a lot of what was on the radio growing up when I was very little. 4 years old is about when I started to really care about music. Like pretty much as soon as I could comprehend it. Um, and at the time, so it was like 2001. So everything on the radio was like the post-grunge rock. It was like um, Matchbox 20, Puddle of Mudd, Nickelback, Creed, all those bands, Lifehouse, all that stuff was on the radio. And then getting a little older, also on the radio, there was a lot of like pop punk, and emo was getting big at the time. So there was um there was a lot of like Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, Green Day, some of which I still listen to. Um, and also growing up, my dad also listened to a lot of like Journey and Ozzy. There was some Bon Jovi, Boston. He introduced me to a lot of that stuff. He introduced me to Disturbed when I was very little, and that was like one of my first exposures to like metal music, or at least like modern metal. And I remember that was like kind of life changing for me at the time. And although Disturbed isn't really one of my favorite bands today, I did recently get to see them in live in concert, and it was incredible. It was one of the best live performances I've ever seen. And it also just meant a lot to me because of that childhood nostalgia. But yeah, when I was in high school, I started to get more into heavier music. I had a older cousin who He's like 11 years older than me. He was really big into hardcore, um, like thrash metal, hardcore punk, metalcore, melodic hardcore, really big into that stuff. And he introduced me to a lot of those bands. The main ones he introduced me to were, who we'll talk about today, were Evergreen Terrace, Between the Buried and Me. He also introduced me to some others along the way. Um, but he also, so I already knew about Avenged Sevenfold, but he showed me their older stuff that I didn't know about at the time, and I completely fell in love with all that. And also growing up, video games, a lot of video games had soundtracks that kind of got me focused in a certain path of music, like uh, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland and Project 8, those games mostly, like, and then also like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. A lot of the stuff I listen to today, I heard for the first time on those games. And so today I just wanted to look at, I made a quick Topster um, chart and just wanted to talk about some of my favorite albums, albums that mean a lot to me. Again, limit one per artist. So we'll go ahead and start. And I guess I'll start at the bottom because I kind of positioned these in order of like top to bottom, favorite to, I don't want to say least favorite because these are my favorite albums, but you get what I'm saying. So we'll start with the very bottom row. Um, I guess I'll go from right to left because I kind of ordered them from left to right. So I guess I'll go from right to left. A little unorthodox, but I've never been orthodox. So we'll start with Afterburner by Dance Gavin Dance. Dance Gavin Dance is a band that I got into more recently. I got into with this album, Afterburner, which I believe this came out in 2021, 2020, somewhere in there. And Dance Gavin Dance is a band. They've changed a bit over the years. They've tonally changed a lot. They've become more melodic over the years. They change singers pretty frequently, and that the tone of the band kind of changes with the singers. But even though the singers all kind of have a similar vocal style and range, um, Dance Gavin Dance is mostly rooted in post-hardcore and prog. They're like progressive post-hardcore with heavy elements of funk, and they work in a lot of other genres, but those are the main three. They have also been kind of recently put into a category. There's like a genre that fans have created that I used to think was really stupid, but now that the name of that genre is actually starting to be used more seriously, and that's swancore. And the whole point of that genre is basically the guitarist of Dance Gavin Dance's name is Will Swan, and he owns a huge label, and he plays in a lot of different bands that sound like DGD, and all the bands on that label sound very similar to DGD, and people have nicknamed those that style Swancore because they all kind of have they sound the same and they have their own kind of certain sound that Will Swan brings to the table. And um, this particular album, Afterburner, was my first introduction to DGD. I had heard the name before. I knew that they were one of those kind of like emo scene type bands, but I didn't know to like really what they were. I didn't know they were prog. And one day I remember laying in bed one morning or afternoon, who knows. And my cousin, my older cousin who got me into all this music, his name's Jay. I'll just say it. Um uh he uh he texted me one day and he's like, "Dude, have you heard the new Dance Gavin Dance album? I saw this on my Spotify. Have you heard it? It's awesome." I'm like, "No, I haven't heard it." And we were on Xbox. I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, and he played the song Lyrics Lie over the headset on off his phone, and I instantly fell in love. I'm like, "Holy crap, this band is sick. This is awesome. I need to check this band out right now." and they've been one of my favorites ever since. There's certain bands. It's like I hear a lot of different music. I listen to a lot of different bands, a lot of different sounds, a lot of different styles and songs, and like they're good, but they don't grab me. And there's certain bands that just grab me. Like the second I hear a single note of that band, I just know I'm gonna deep dive into it and I'm gonna love them forever. And that just happened to be one of those times. So I love DGD. I love that album. It means a lot to me. Uh, just because of like it's just the special one of the group. I think for that reason, it's the one I've spent the most time listening to. The other albums are great across all their like singers, but that one in particular has always held a special spot for me. The big songs I would highlight on that album would probably be Lyrics Lie, Prisoner, Calentamiento Global. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'd say those would be. Oh, and Born to Fail and Strawberries Wake. The music video for Strawberries Wake is hysterical. DGD is one of those bands that has really goofy music videos, and I recommend checking them out just because they're so funny. Next, we got Dead Poetic New Medicines. This is a childhood album. This was like the first like screamy band I ever heard as a kid. Um, this album has kind of a laid back feel to it, despite all the screaming. Um, it's definitely post-hardcore, 100%, but it's not as whiny as a lot of other like emo-centric stuff. But it's just got this really nice, chill, melodic vibe to it that it's always gotten stuck in my head. I would say probably my big recommendations for that album, song-wise, would probably be um, Taste the Red Hands, Vanish Empty, Modern Morbid Prophecies, and Dimmer Light. So then moving on to one of the more unique albums on this list, Beastie Boys' License to Ill. So I am a huge Beastie Boys fan. I love them. They're so quirky, so weird, so different. They were like the first rap rock group ever. And before like rap rock was a thing. And they had some other more punky stuff. They had like a jazz instrumental album. They actually, before License to Ill, were like more of a hardcore punk band. They had a EP called Aglio Olio, which if you don't know, Aglio Olio is actually an Italian dish comprising of spaghetti pasta and an oil-based sauce. But before that, they were a band called the Young Aborigines, and then they changed their name to Beastie Boys, and they kicked out their female member, and then became a rap group. So that's a little history on them. But they're a great group. It's sad that they had to break up when they did. Um, but that album is just fun. It's laid back, it's goofy. Well, and it's not laid back actually. What am I saying? It is not laid back at all. It's full throttle, actually. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's funny. It's uh it's just a good time. There's a good mix of different sounds and styles on there. But yeah, Beastie Boys. What songs would I recommend from there? Obviously, Fight for Your Right and No Sleep Till Brooklyn are great. Um, uh, the New Style and Girls. Girls is just a funny, quirky song. Um, Minor Threat, Out of Step. So honestly, I was going to just put the complete discography on here, but I felt like that was kind of cheating. Even though it is one CD, it is technically an album, more of a compilation. But I went ahead and put just Out of Step on here. I mean, I kind of would count all of the songs, but Out of Step is a great album. Um, my probably my favorite song on there would be Think Again. just because of the awesome bass section. Um, but really, really fun songs. I love Minor Threat. I love that old school, off the wall punk, hardcore punk sound. Um, I I just really, really vibe with it, and I like the messages in the songs. I like the kind of like the attitude that Ian MacKaye has in those songs. There's a lot of personality in his vocals. But another reason why I really like Minor Threat, and I think this is kind of more from their first like album, but so for the people that don't know, Minor Threat started the straight edge movement, and so a lot of their songs have to do with being straight edge and rejecting addiction and um, I didn't really want this to be like a really personal, serious video, so I'll keep this brief. But in the past, I have been known to struggle a bit with mainly with drinking, and Minor Threats music really helped me get over that. Really helped me break break out of that and keep me in check. A lot of their lyrics in their songs, they have a few different songs about like anti-addiction, but the big one is the song "Straight Edge," and it just this band's really important to me, kind of more for that reason. That I loved them before, and but part of me always kind of felt like a poser, and I don't care about the whole like the whole like you're a poser thing, but like it almost felt like it felt weird for me to listen to these songs that were like anti-addiction and be like, yeah, screw those people, and be like, wait, I'm one of those people. And um, obviously, straight edge is about more than just drinking and drugs and stuff, but yeah, having those lyrics to listen to and fall back on that really helped me get a hold of myself and break out of that stuff. And I've been sober over 2 years now, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. Um, Despite like no matter what has happened, like obviously there's been some bad things here and there over the last couple of years, but I've just always kept a really positive outlook, and I've just been genuinely happy um, ever since I stopped drinking. So if you take anything away from this video, it's that drugs are bad, okay. Mm, okay. But yeah, so yeah, I know there's a negative connotation toward straight edge people because I know there's a lot of really annoying ones, but I don't know. I do it for myself. It'd be cool if other people did too. I think there'd be a lot more good in the world, but yeah, it's for me. At the end of the day, you got to do things for yourself, and you got to keep yourself in line. Moving on to Foo Fighters, Wasting Light, great album. My favorite Foo Fighters album. Big Foo Fighters fan. Um, I love their first two albums. Um, I've listened through a good chunk of their discography. I watched their documentary back and forth like 100 times. It's something I like to just throw on in the background sometimes. They took it off Netflix, but you can still find it pretty easily on YouTube. Um, I don't know where else to find it. uh, Foo Fighters Wasting Light. It is their seventh album. It was the return of their original guitarist, Pat Smear. Um, well, technically Dave was the original guitarist, but you get what I mean. Um, Great album. Just it kind of brought back their heavy side a little bit, but it also kept a lot of their like kind of melodic poppy nature. But I don't know, it was a real big breath of fresh air for the band, and honestly, I think it was kind of their last really good album, unfortunately. Concrete and Gold was okay. It was a very disappointing album because Run was such a crazy song and it was very misleading for the rest of the album. And I could just never really get into any of their later albums. And I mean, Wasting Light was followed up by what is arguably like like commercially or popularly. I don't know. Anyway, it's like Sonic Highways is like their worst album according to a lot of people. And but Wasting Light, just a great fun album. The Wasting Light introduced me to Bob Mould. Bob Mould, he's a solo artist, but he was also in the band Sugar and Husker Du. Husker Du is a very important band from like the late 80s. They they had a very similar kind of vibe to like REM, that kind of like jingle pop kind of. But Husker Du also had some heavier songs. They're kind of considered part of the post-hardcore movement, but they weren't like emo-y at all. But they were just kind of around that time doing like a more experimental type of music. I think if you actually look at their Spotify bio, it literally says Husker Du and REM come from the same style, the same era, but REM got big and Husker Du didn't. Like that's literally their Spotify bio. It's really funny. But now, but yeah, uh, Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters is another band too that has a lot of goofy music videos, and they had some great music videos from the Wasting Light era. Especially the song "Walk." The music video is a whole parody of the Michael Douglas movie Falling Down, which is just great. It is really funny. The big songs I would say for me on that one are White Limo, which the music video features Lemmy from Motorhead, um, Walk, Rope, and my personal favorite, Dear Rosemary. That's probably my favorite Foo Fighters song. Um, there's some other really good songs on there, like I think Burning Bridges is the name of it. But Rope is a fantastic song. Has some cool kind of offbeat stuff that was inspired. I think someone said it was inspired by like a Zeppelin song. Could be wrong, but um, song also had some nice backup vocals from Taylor Hawkins. Dear Rosemary is the song that features Bob Mould. And also Chris Novoselic from Nirvana played bass on the song I Should Have Known. It's just altogether a good album. And Walk. I remember when that album came out, Walk was everywhere. That song was so legendary. It's more of a power ballad, I think some people have called it, but it's just a really good song. Great album. White Limo is a very screamy song, kind of like Weenie Beanie from their first album. But yeah, that's Wasting Light. So that's the first row, or the last row, I guess. Um, Next we have so there's a part of me that wasn't sure if I should include this album, but I'm going to anyway. Unfortunate Snort by Pinkly Smooth. So Pinkly Smooth is a very niche band. They It was a side project of two members of Avenged Sevenfold, mainly their original drummer, the Rev, as well as their lead guitarist, um, Sinister Gates. One of their old bass players, Justin Meacham, was also on a couple of the songs, but he wasn't in the band for very long. Um, this side project only lasted about a year or two. It was like 2001 when Avenged Sevenfold's first album came out. Actually, recently, the bass player El Diablo has come out. He does the like the flamenco guitar YouTube channel. He came out with some old concert footage and some old demos from Pinkly Smooth, but um, the album Unfortunate Snark, they're weird. They're a weird band. I think the music is called goblin metal. Very avant-garde, very strange, very goofy, but I love it. There's just something about it that I just love it. And I still go back. It's only 6 songs, and I still go back to that album and listen to it all the time. It's so quirky and silly and goofy, and so original and fun. And the audio recording quality sounds like it was made in a basement. It probably was, but it's just a lot of good fun. I'd say my favorite song from that one is probably Mesmer, um, or Pixel and Nasal. But honestly, they're all good. Yeah. Was it 6 songs? I feel like I'm forgetting a song. No, no, I'm not. Yeah. Necromance Theater is also fun. That's like the longest song on the album. McFly is kind of ballady. It's kind of sad because I'm pretty sure that song was written about um Michael J. Fox, but the some of the lyrics in the chorus have been repurposed to kind of be a tribute for the Rev, which is kind of sad and ironic at the same time considering he wrote that song. Um, but then there's the other songs. Nosferatu does a hefty dance. It's probably my least favorite, but it's still fun. It's still a good song. It's very, very vampiric sounding. And then The Body of Death of the Man of the Body of Death is also a fun song. Yeah, it's just crazy. I had to include it. I was going to include Spiderland by Slint as the weird album of the bunch, but I definitely have more of a place for Unfortunate Snort in my heart. I've listened to it. I used to listen to it on loop when I was in college between classes. Like it was a problem. I remember I made my own like burn of it because I couldn't find the album anywhere. Next we have Queens of the Stone Age Songs for the Deaf. This is one of those like legendary rock albums. This is one of those albums that I think a lot of people know, a lot of people have heard. But what was always really cool about this album is that it's kind of a concept album in a way, and that the songs are connected through fictional radio stations, and that the kind of the plot of the album is it's like a road trip driving from LA to Joshua's Tree, which is a drive that the lead singer Josh Homme would have to do a lot. And there's like a bunch of little small towns in between, and basically the whole point of the album is between songs, you're jumping from radio station to radio station as you go between these small towns. And it's funny because the vibe and the style of the songs would kind of change with each station. And this was a more experimental album. It had a bunch of different singers and musicians on it. But I think what a lot of people remember mostly from this album is the fact that Dave Grohl was part of Queens of the Stone Age at this time. He was their drummer for like 2 years. I want to say he came back and drummed on another album later, but during this time he was actually part of the band. And that also created a lot of turmoil in Foo Fighters, which it's covered in their documentary. But I've always really enjoyed Songs for the Deaf. No One Knows is one of my all-time favorite rock songs. It was the second song I ever learned on drums. The first one was I'll Stick Around by Foo Fighters. Um, but that's just such a fun song to play. I also really love the song Song for the Dead. And that opening intro, that drum intro is just so good. But yeah, that's that one. Next, we have Coheed and Cambria in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. This album is incredible, very progressive. Coheed and Cambria is they're a prog band that started more in the element of post-hardcore and emo and pop punk and got more metal as they progress. They're one of those bands that kind of changes their sound with every album. And but they do still have a really core sound to them. And I'm actually going to be seeing them live at the end of the month. I'm very excited for that. And this album in particular, this is their second album. It's just I think it's their best one. It's just there's an element to it. It's got some more fun songs like Favorite House Atlantic, which is probably my favorite song of theirs. That one, the music video is just quirky and fun for that one. That song's kind of an outlier because it's more just, it feels more like one of those old school, like kind of Fall Out Boy songs. And the music video and everything kind of reminds me of like the old Fall Out Boy music videos and like just that kind of vibe. It's just really fun. And I would say one of my probably my favorite song from that album besides Favorite House Atlanta would probably be the title track in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, as well as like Three Evils and The Crowning. Blood Red Summer is also a really big song. Um, that one was also a little more on the poppy side, although the music video is actually kind of sad, um, kind of crazy. Um, I remember that song. I reading in comments that that song was featured on like a PSP demo disc or something. Um, which again, video games are great for music. A lot of people get introduced to music through video games, and I've talked about this before on the channel, and this was one example. And I also know that there was like I think Backcountry by Avenged Sevenfold was featured on like a sports game soundtrack, and that got a lot of people into them at the time. Uh, but yeah, um, in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, great album, my favorite Coheed album, and their drummer Josh Shepard is one of my all-time drumming heroes. I have uh, I have like probably like a list of 10 big drumming heroes, and he's definitely one of them. I didn't mention the other ones because we've already covered some. Obviously, Dave Grohl is one of my all-time drumming heroes. The Rev is one of my all-time drumming heroes, and Matt Mingus from Dance Gavin Dance. That guy is ridiculous. He is insane. Moving on to Dookie by Green Day. I love Dookie. I'm not the biggest Green Day fan in the world. Um, I haven't really listened to any other albums other than like I mean when I was growing up, um, American Idiot was huge. I know a lot of songs from that album. That was a huge album. I know a lot of their other big hits from here and there. Um, they used to play the radio, whatever radio station they would play at my work. They would play "Oh Love" like every day to the point where I kind of hate that song. But I've always liked the album Dookie by Green Day, um, which is funny because of all the bands on here, Green Day's like the one that I don't really listen to, but I've always really appreciated this album. Oh man, I know my buddy Joe, if he sees this, is probably both um, very happy and very sad right now by what I'm saying. Um, but I mean, I he knows my thoughts on Green Day. Um, Green Day is like he is to Green Day as I am to Avenged Sevenfold. Like he can name every single song, every cover, every demo, every EP. Like he knows everything they've ever done. Um, but uh, Dookie is a very fun album. Some of their biggest hits to this day, their most iconic songs come from Dookie. I'm talking obviously Basket Case is probably like still their biggest song or one of. I mean, I know Boulevard of Broken Dreams is a huge one and Holiday is a big one, which uh Holiday was on the American Wasteland soundtrack and I don't think I mentioned that in my podcast and Joe was freaking out about it, so I'm gonna say it here. Uh, I don't think I mentioned Green Day because they're not a band that I still regularly listen to. Um, on that podcast episode, but I'm mentioning them now. All right. Um, Basket Keys was a huge song. When I Come Around, Welcome to Paradise. She is probably my favorite Green Day song of all time. But yeah, they had a lot of good ones on there. Next, uh, Also, like I forget I started this off by like going into depth about the genre of every band, and I kind of haven't been doing that. I mean, everyone knows Green Day. They're punk. They went more into the pop punk side, but they're a punk band. Um, Slipknot, the self-titled album Slipknot. They're big. Like I know they had like a demo album before it, and they had been a band for a long time before this album, but this is really where they finally found themselves and really solidified their lineup and their sound and their style. And this album, I've listened to every Slipknot album. I own most of them, but this is definitely probably the one that sticks with me the most. I like some of the like that they included more like rapping on this one. You know, they went really heavy with the samples and the effects and the scratching, but this album is also just very, very heavy and thrashy and violent and a lot of like I remember things that my cousin Jay told me that at the time when this came out, it attracted the attention of a lot of the hardcore kids. Like it was a very kind of like very underground sound. And then when it broke in the mainstream and new metal became a thing, a lot of those old fans like kind of disassociated themselves from it. But this album is great. Joey Jordison is probably my number one drumming hero. Funny enough, he was number one in Slipknot. Um, but I've always really loved Joey Jordison as a drummer, and he was like one of my biggest inspirations to finally start drumming. He's just insane. I don't usually get affected by celebrity deaths. I'm not one of those people that cry when celebrities die or get upset, but it was definitely a gut punch when Joey died. That one probably hit either him or Corey Taylor probably hit me the hardest. Not Corey Taylor, Taylor Hawkins. Taylor, the name Taylor was in my head. Sorry. When either Taylor Hawkins also hit me pretty hard when he died. Um, but Joey Jordison, that was like such a sucker punch. And I think it was because he was the drummer that really got me into to finally do it. I remember watching the drum cam of Heretic Anthem, and that was the moment I was like, I gotta do this. I still probably can't play that song, but um, yeah, Joey just really meant a lot to me. Also, fun fact, Joey Jordison was the inspiration for the design of the character Basil Hawkins from One Piece. So yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure the mask Joey wore was based off of like a traditional like Japanese mask. I think his mom collected them, and that's why he wore them before he switched and did the whole like Jesus mask thing. But yeah, probably my favorite songs from the original Slipknot album would be Eyeless, Only One, and then of course Wait and Bleed and Spit It Out. Those are great. I mean, all the songs on there are really good, but those are like the main ones. But yeah. Um, so on to the next one. This video is going to be a lot longer than I anticipated. I'm realizing now. I didn't expect this album to be so or this video to be so long. We're on 40 minutes. That's not too bad. All right, next album, The Enemy Inside by Cold Rain. Cold Rain, I got into more recently. I discovered Cold Rain through anime. They're not an anime band, but a lot of their music gets used in anime. And for me, it was particularly the song Mayday, which is probably their biggest song ever. And it was the second opening of the anime Fire Force, which is one of my favorite newer anime, made by the same guy that makes Soul Eater, which was one of my favorites when I first started getting into anime. Cold Rain is a they're kind of a blend of post-hardcore and metalcore, but they also work in some like kind of more like um pop and like and like rock elements, some electronic elements. They're very inspired by Linkin Park, even though they don't rap at all. Um, and their first album sounded very similar to early My Chemical Romance, specifically their first album, which I don't think they've ever cited them as a source, but that is a connection people make that they do sound a lot like that older style. Um, and despite being Japanese, all their songs are in English, which I think helps people like kind of connect to them. Um, and because I know there's a lot of like foreign bands that I like, but I feel like not being able to understand the words, even though I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you have to know what they're saying, because I listen to a lot of screaming music that you can't tell what they're saying, and I still love it because I think the feeling and the vibe of the song is more important than what's being said in a lot of cases. But um, Cold Rain is a great band. I can put on any album by them, and I just really enjoy them. Even though a lot of their albums do kind of start to sound the same, um, but I will say it's not on this album, but I love. They have a cover of "Don't Speak" by No Doubt, and I think they do a really nice rendition of it. Um, but yeah, so for this album, I would say probably some of my favorite tracks for it would be "To Be Alive," which is like the I think that was kind of like one of the big singles from it. And "Rescue Me" is also a great track. Um, I mean, they're all good. New Fate's good. Um, the whole album is fun. This album probably has the most screaming on it of all their albums. But next, moving on to oh boy, The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance, both a legend and a meme. Um, First thing I ever learned how to play on piano was the opening to Black Parade. Great concept album. This album has made me cry. Yes. This album has legitimately made me break out in tears. It was specifically the song Cancer. Unfortunately, that song was defiled by 21 Pilots, but um, but the original version is so heartbreaking to me. The whole album is such a treat. It's a concept album following um, uh, the last moments of a cancer patient, reliving memories of their life. Um, it's a very emo pop kind of album, but it also has a lot of like kind of rock opera moments, kind of reminiscent of Queen. Some like more strange avant-garde kind of stuff thrown in there. Um, and the only song I don't really like on this album is Teenagers, just because it feels so out of place in the narrative. It's just such a random song to be thrown in there. And I know like some of the other songs were inspired by other things, like in Gerard's life. Like the song Sleep was inspired by nightmares he had when he was recording at that one haunted studio. The famous haunted studio that all the bands talk about. I think it's Rick Rubin's studio. Um, a lot of bands had experienced nightmares there, and some band members have refused to stay there. Um, Foo Fighters movie Studio 666 is about that studio, and yeah, and some of the stuff on Black Parade was inspired by living in that studio, and but Black Parade is just a great album. Obviously, the song Black Parade is a great song. I also really like I love the secret song Blood. It's kind of got this kind of old ragtimey kind of feel to it. It's just a fun, silly song. It even has a music video, which is kind of crazy for a secret song. But yeah, that's those two are great. I mean, they're all great. What is it? Sharpest Lives are great. Um, oh, I Don't Love You. That's a great there. That was just Jordan being really cringe and stupid. Um, Next album, Panic at the Disco, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Love this album. Listen to this album to death. Great album. Um, it's got that like baroque pop mixed with the emo pop feel. I do like that this album is kind of split into two halves. That the first half is a little more um, techno punk pop, like straightforward, and then the last half is more of that weird baroque, quirky kind of sound. Um, I mean, this is just a classic album. Everyone knows I Write Sins Not Tragedies. Everyone also thought that song was Fall Out Boy when it first came out, but we don't have to talk about that. But um, but it's better that If You Do is a great one. Um, the only difference between Martyrdom and Suicide is press coverage is also great. Bill God, Then We'll Talk is obviously um, a really good one. But trying to remember, there was another song on here that I really, really liked. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh yeah, it was There's a good reason why these tables are numbered, honey. You just haven't thought of it yet. That's probably my favorite song on here. But they're all good. Um, London Beckon songs about money written by machines is also a good one. They're all really great songs. Time to Dance, but yeah, that one's just a classic. Next we got Vesu by Thrice. Um, this was my introduction to Thrice. I don't listen to Thrice nearly as much as I should, but this whole album is really good. Um, I heard Thrice for the first time on Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. They did a cover of two Minor Threat songs that they fused into like one song. It was Seeing Red and oh, what was the other one? It was my Google's being difficult right now. Screaming at the Wall. Yeah, that one. Um yeah, and then it also included their song Image of the Invisible, which in the game it's only called Image, which is funny. But I remember sitting in the car with Jay. Jay's gonna come up a lot during this video. Sitting in the car with Jay in front of my house, and he's just showing me tons of music that he listens to. He's showing me Poison the Well, Winds of Plague, all sorts of stuff, and I think he was also showing me some old Avenged Sevenfold stuff. And then he shows me Image of the Invisible by Thrice, and like this core memory just like unlocked in me. And because I had heard the song all the time on Tony Hawk, and I never really listened to Thrice after that. And then hearing that, I was like, holy crap, I know this song. And this is a phenomenal album. The first like 4 or 5 tracks on that album, especially, are just incredible. But also, their song "Artist in the Ambulance" is a classic. Everyone knows the intro to that song. And the late night brakes lock, hear the tires squeal. Red light can't stop, so I spin the wheel. My world goes black before I feel an angel lift me up, and I open bloodshot eyes into fluorescent white. But the siren hit the lights. Close the doors and I am gone. Like everyone knows that intro. But this album too is just really incredible. Especially the song "Image of the Invisible." It's got such a weird off-time drum pattern to it. Um, it's great. Next we have Mastodon by Leviathan. No, I'm so stupid. Sorry, it's the way that it's written on the topster here. Leviathan by Mastodon. I'm an idiot. Leviathan by Mastodon. Love this album. Concept album. This album is about Moby Dick. um, and I'm so excited to see this band live soon. Brandaler is an amazing drummer. They're all really cool. Um, they're one of their guitarists just got kicked out recently. He's the one that picked a fight with Shavo from System of a Down. Uh, which I forgot that that was Mastodon. Jay just reminded me recently. But yeah, Leviathan, Mastodon's great album. A song, oh my God, it is late at night. It's like almost midnight that I'm recording this, so I'm losing my mind a little bit. I'm just out of it. I'm tired. I've been standing in this closet all day. um, yes, Leviathan by Mastodon is a great album. Blood and Thunder is such an iconic metal song. Mastodon is a oh yeah, I keep forgetting genres. Thrice is a post-hardcore band. Mastodon is a progressive metal band that has kind of stayed more in the realm of group metal, sludge metal, and stoner metal. Um, but it's just a really solid progressive metal band with a phenomenal drummer. They're all kind of the lead singer. Each album they kind of trade and sing. This particular album was mostly sang by the bassist. I first heard the song Iron Tusk on Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. I'm going to bring up American Wasteland a lot. Um, American Wasteland was great. The great soundtrack, Leviathan. Uh, my words are, it is so late. I need to go to bed. Um, Iron Tusk. But Blood and Thunder is obviously a phenomenal song. There's also um, other great tracks on this album. Um, what's that other one called? I look up Leviathan MAS and it comes up with the Mass Effect DLC. Uh, I am Ahab. Yep, and Sea Beast. And Island. Like great songs, great album. Um, Next we have Billy Talent 2 by Billy Talent. Billy Talent is a band I recently discovered through Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remake. The song "Afraid of Heights" from the album "Afraid of Heights" from 2016. Love that song to death. I was in like the 0.06% of Spotify listeners for that song last year. Um, I really love the song, but I put Billy Talent 2 on here in particular because I think I've listened to this album more, and it's just a great album to listen to, especially when like driving. And it's an easy listen. Um, Devil in a Midnight Mass, um, Fallen Leaves. I think they have another song called like Red Flag or something. Um, just a really good, solid album. Just a good rock album. I don't really listen to a lot of just straight up rock. Billy Talent did kind of come from the post-hardcore days. Their first album had a lot more screaming on it. Um, Ben Kwolowitz kind of has changed his singing style over the years. He used to do a lot of like really high-pitched screams that took a long time for me to get used to. But now he does more like kind of raspy, shouty vocals, kind of like what Davey Havok did in AFI. But yeah, it's just a really fun easy to listen to, high energetic rockin' album. Next we have Automata 2 by Between the Buried and Me. Now, I view Automata 1 and 2 as one album. They're the same story, same continuity, just split on two discs. But since I could only put one on here, put Automata 2. Um, I used to sit in college between classes with notebooks, and I would try to map out the story of Automata. Great story. It's about someone whose dreams are being broadcasted to the world as entertainment, and uh, viewing their like old memories and stuff about their past and the ethics behind it, and also like looking in the company that's doing the experiment and stuff. Um, Automata 2 in particular is my favorite of the two, mostly because of the song Voice of Trespass. That's such a fun song. Glide's also a really good song. All four songs are really good. It's only four songs, but each song is like 10 minutes long. So, um, but Voice of Trespass, that is easily my favorite Between the Buried and Me song. Um, I also really love the album Great Misdirect, which I saw the show live when they played all the way through that whole album from start to finish. That was such a great show. I got thrown into the pit. Uh, and then someone as big as me got hurled at me, um, which is really scary because I am like 6'4", 300 pounds. So someone as big as me getting thrown at me is not fun. It was a blast. It was great. Um, I've seen BT Bam live 3 times, twice at the same venue, and I've got to hear them play Voice of Trespass live twice. Such a fun song. The whole crowd during they do this kind of like scat part, like this whole like ba da ba da ba da ba do bop 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 ah whole part, and the whole crowd just goes nuts and does it along with them. It's got a very kind of swing big band feel, even though BT Bam is a like progressive metalcore band, and their early stuff was more into like technical death metal, but they implement so many different genres and elements. They've got kind of an avant-garde edge to them. A lot of jazz. Jazz seems to pair well with death metal, which is weird. But I mean, that's where you get that new subgenre, Thal or whatever, like Animals as Leaders and stuff. But great band, great album. I could do a whole deep dive on BT Bam. Next, we have Distal by Crash of Rhinos. Crash of Rhinos is a progressive emo band, a subgenre known as math rock. They're not emo in the way that you think. They're not like the whiny 2000s like eyeliner and long hair emo. They're like the middle-aged men that are depressed about their job type of emo. Like like Weezer or something like that. Because I remember um or I guess Sunny Day Real Estate would probably be a better connection. Which, fun fact, two members of Sunny Day Real Estate made up the original lineup of Foo Fighters. I had a friend that was a music elitist that I worked with, and he was all about super edgy underground experimental bands. He took me to like this shoegaze concert in Pennsylvania once, and it was an experience. It was a crazy experience. Um, in but I was talking to him about emo, and he was like, "You don't know what real emo is. You only know that mainstream pop crap. Well, I'll show you real emo." And then he showed me this album, Distal, Crash Rhinos, and I loved it. Such a good album. I've listened through this album so many times. The audio quality isn't the best, but the songs are just so melodic and peaceful until they're not. And this band's odd because they have two guitarists and two bass players and a drummer, and all five of them are the lead singer. They all trade out, and Ollie Craven, who's the drummer, he is one of my favorite drummers. He's an absolute monster, and the fact that he can sing while he's playing that stuff is just really good album. Um, I'm sad that they broke up. And three of the members do a project together now. I don't remember the name of it, but it's just not the same. Next, we have Comeback Kid Heavy Steps. This is a newer album. I haven't been listening to Comeback Kid for very long, but I got introduced to them through Jay. Big surprise. They're a melodic hardcore band similar to Evergreen Terrace, kind of. Um, this is just a fun album from start to finish. Very energetic, very hyper album. My favorite song on here is I think it's called Crossed. I used to be able to remember like um single song from every album, and my memory is just not what it used to be anymore. I think part of that is from the drinking, but also I'm just getting old. I'm almost 30, so you know that basically means I'm like almost dead of old age. Crossed. Yeah, that's the song. I mean, the first four songs are really really good. The whole album is really good. I'm not trying to discredit the rest of the album, but those first four in particular are like the best ones. Um, it's just another great easy listen album. Easy listen if you like that kind of music, I guess. Um, Fall Out Boy, Take This to Your Grave. I've always liked Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy was huge when I was growing up. I remember getting in debates trying to figure out what the lyrics to Sugar We're Going Down Swinging was, because no one could understand what Pat was saying. But but this album in particular, their first album, Take This to Your Grave, um, so fun to listen to from front to back. Every song is just a hit to me, but probably my all-time favorite Fall Out Boy song would be Grand Theft Autumn. Um, but all the albums on here, or all the songs, I'm so tired. All the songs on this album are really good. Although I think probably one of the best song names I've ever heard is Reinventing the Wheel to Run Myself Over. That's really funny to me. Um, Everyone knows Fall Out Boy. They started as like a emo pop band, um, a little more punky in the beginning. And for people that don't know what emo pop is a combination of emo and pop punk. Um, I know Fall Out Boy got a lot more mainstream pop later on, where Patrick Stump was trying to turn himself into like a Brendan Urie type pop star. Um, but and they have gotten a little more rockier recently, but their first album is just fantastic. I mean, their first four albums are really good, but this one in particular I've always liked more because it was a little heavier. It had a little bit of screaming on it. Um, it's just a fun album. Next, now we're getting into the top five here. Um, Dead Horses by Evergreen Terrace. Evergreen Terrace was introduced to me by Jay with, I believe, it was the song Post Satanic Ritual Baby, which is the third track on Dead Horses. This is one of those albums that I do know the full track list. um, is This is a great album. This album, so they're a melodic hardcore band. They were a little more hardcore in the beginning, got more melodic over time, and then on this album they kind of got a little more metalcore, but they were incredible um, on this album specifically. I mean, Wolf Biker's a great album, Almost Home's a great album, but this one's always held a special place for me. This one's a little more darker, um, which is funny considering that one of the songs is about a Jim Carrey movie. But um, Crows is probably my favorite song on this album. I really love the chorus on that song. But the drum break on the last song, was it that dog will hunt, I think is the or something like that. Um, Fortunate Ones also just has a really nice upbeat sound to it. Um, And of course, the title track um, is great. But I hate Google so much. It's for something that's supposed to track every single thing I do and know and tailor searches to me specifically, it really does a bad job when I need it the most. Um, yeah, that Doggle Hunt, the drums like break on there is just so fun. I love it. Just that dun 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 dun, like I don't know. It's just the typical like metalcore breakdown. Next, Homesick by A Day to Remember. Man, this album. It's funny because I only got into this album recently, but it feels so nostalgic, even though I've only been listening to this album for like a couple years now. Um, Day Remember is a genre called easycore, which is a combination of hardcore and pop punk, and they also add in elements of post-hardcore and emo. This is a great album from start to finish. Um, the last song on the album is like a really nice, like acoustic ballad. Kind of sounds like something that would come out today, um, in like the modern acoustic pop scene. But I'm Made of Wax, Larry, What Are You Made Out Of is a great song. Um, Downfall of Us All is great. All the songs are spectacular. And as you probably could tell with a lot of these like early 2000s like emo bands, the song names are ridiculous and long for no reason, which I think that trend started with Fall Out Boy. um, I can't recommend this album enough. Now we're going into the top three. Not only are these my top three albums, but these are also my top three bands. Starting with System of a Down, which is not a radio rock band, RJ, if you're watching this. System of a Down is a alt metal band that came out during the new metal craze. Um, Works in elements of a lot of different genres, has a lot of progressive elements, some avant-garde elements. System of a Down's first album was a lot more chaotic and crazy and heavy and weird. And then they got a lot more melodic over time. But this album in particular, this was the first album of theirs I listened to. Chop Suey, like a lot of people, Chop Suey was the first song of theirs I ever heard. Heard it for the first time on Rock Band, courtesy of Jay. Um, and I used to watch the music video over and over and over and over. Um, Great band, so original. Uh, Serge's voice is great. Serge's voice reminds me a lot of Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedys, which he, along with Foo Fighters, covered a Dead Kennedy song live. And his vocals were great on that. Darren Malakian's voice is also, he doesn't sing as much on this album as he does in the later ones, but he did start singing a lot on this album. He has some solo parts. Shavo Odagian's one of my bass heroes. Uh, he's a great bassist, and this band has a lot of really hard technical bass parts, which I always really appreciate. And a lot of old punk bands used to put a lot of that same kind of emphasis on the bass, where it was almost like the guitar would play the rhythm and the bass would lead. And then John Del Mayan is my one of my all-time favorite drumming heroes. He's one of my biggest drumming heroes. Pretty much on these next three albums, like you're just gonna there's a lot of my drumming heroes involved. Um, really unique. Probably my top songs for Toxicity, I would say, are Science is actually probably my favorite song on this album. I know that's not one that gets brought up often, but it's kind of like this sleeper song, like where like it's really liked by people, but it kind of flew under the radar. Um, but pretty much every song on this album is like a hit or a fan favorite. Um, Obviously, Chop Suey, Toxicity, and Aerials are legendary songs. I also really love the song Forest, as well as Atwa, and Needles. I really like the song Needles. Um, that one has a big, like, Darren solo part. But every song on here is notable to some extent. Um, Next, we're moving on to my favorite band of all time. Oh, my absolute all-time favorite band. Man, I don't know what it is about Avenged Sevenfold that just they are the greatest band of all time, and I know they receive a lot of hate. I know a lot of people disagree. A lot of people write them off as like just because of um Hail to the King. People write them off as like a Metallica ripoff radio band. Um, in recent times, people have disliked them for their newest album, which is a masterpiece. Um, and a lot of people just don't like I'm Shadow's voice. But man, this band, I love them to death. I can name every single song they've ever released. I own all their albums. I have spent so much time listening to and researching this band. This band helped me get through some really hard times in my early adulthood. Unfortunately, I've still never gotten to see them live. I had tickets to see their show once and it got canceled because M Shadows had a throat injury and they never came back. Um, but I was first introduced to Avenged Sevenfold through Call of Duty, like a lot of people. And they they're just very special to me. They just mean a whole lot to me. They're the best band ever. Um, I know not everyone agrees with that, but to me, like they are just the best. They might not be the heaviest. They might not be the most original, but they're just really special. And every member of this band is legendary in their own right. And I want to come out real quick and say I want to give some justice for Aaron Alige. I know a lot of people write him off because he's kind of a nobody and he was only on Hail to the King. And a lot of people say he's a bad drummer because of his performances on Hail to the King. He's not a bad drummer. Listen to the song Not Ready to Die. Listen to his drum track on Not Ready to Die. He's really good. Zachary Vengeance himself came out and said that Aaron only played what they told him to play and that he wanted to make the drums more interesting and they wouldn't let him. So I just wanted to get that out there. But uh, this album in particular, Waking the Fallen. Waking the Fallen is the first album I ever bought with my own money. My first album, my first CD. I bought the resurrected version in Walmart. Um, the resurrected version was like the anniversary release that had some demos included with it and a DVD. Um, and the original music video for Unholy Confessions, as well as a unreleased music video for Chapter 4. Uh, I've listened to this album so many times, hundreds of times. I know this album inside and out, back and forth, forward to back, back to forward. I love this album to death. Um, the Rev is obviously one of my biggest drumming heroes. So is Mike Portnoy and Brooks Wackerman. Um, but the Rev was the first, and he was just great. Really good songwriter too. But this album has some amazing guitar solos from Sinister Gates. Um, Although the song that I think the first song I was introduced to on this album by Jay was I Won't See You Tonight Part 1. when he hits that high G note. Uh, M Shadows doesn't get enough credit for how good of a singer he is. He can do some stuff that is so difficult to do that like only he can pull off. But I'm not here to get into all the technicalities of singing. But um, probably my favorite songs from this album, I would say Reminiscence and Second Heartbeat are my two favorite Avenged Sevenfold songs of all time. Um, and All Things Will End doesn't get talked about a lot. That song is probably the most basic on this album, but there's just something about it. I really like that song. Very underrated song. But, Unholy Confessions is huge. Very popular song. Chapter 4 is awesome, amazing. I really like the ending part of Eternal Rest where it gets all like dark and ethereal. Um, Once You Unite Part 2 is also really good. It's just all around great album. Some really good songs on here. Desecrated Through Revenants is a phenomenal song as well. Um, so now moving on to my favorite album. So, um, Avenged Sevenfold is my favorite band. AFI is my second favorite band, but I do love Sing the Sorrow just a little bit more. I would say Sing the Sorrow is my all-time favorite album of all time. Phenomenal album. Co-produced by Butch Vig, who produced Wasting Light by Foo Fighters. I think the other producer did a lot of Blink-182 stuff. Um, I love AFI. AFI is my second favorite band. I own a bunch of their albums. I love all their albums. I still listen to their newer stuff, even though I don't like it as much as their older stuff. They've gone through so many phases as a band. They've gone through so many genres. Every other album, they're like a different band. And but this album in particular, this album is just incredible. Um, this album was a mostly a post-hardcore album, a lot of emo elements, a lot of like indie rock elements, a lot of electronic elements woven in there. Davey Havok is one of my favorite frontmen of all time, and Adam Carson does not get enough recognition as a drummer. Nobody ever talks about Adam Carson. I never hear him mentioned anywhere, but that guy, some of the stuff that he did on like Art of Drowning and um, All Hallows EP, like he just has some really good syncopated, offbeat stuff on there. Really solid punk drummer, does not get enough love. A lot of my style of drumming comes from him. Um, this album is just phenomenal from start to finish. Sing the Sorrow. I've of all the albums I've listened to, this is one of the albums I've listened to the most. Probably the album I've listened to the most out of any other album. Um, Leaving Song Part 2 is a classic. Obviously, Girls Not Grey is a classic. Girls Not Grey was probably the second AFI song I ever heard. The first AFI song I ever heard was Miss Murder, and it was on Guitar Hero 3. Um, but then Jay and one of his close friends at the time got me into Girls Not Grey and Silver and Gold, and then I started listening to this album, and my other cousin, Jay's youngest brother, also is a big fan of Sing the Sorrow, and we listened to it together all the time. When we used to live with each other, we listened to it a lot and talk about it for hours. And the secret song, This Time Imperfect, is awesome. But Home and Nowhere is a great song. Um, I still get what's the name of it? Death of Seasons. I still get that stuck in my head. The guitar solo on Dancing Through Sunday is so fun. This is not a guitar solo band. They probably only have like three guitar solos in their whole discography, and that guitar solo is just so fun. It's not super technical, but it's just a blast. And just every song on this album is just something special. Although I will say, I think my favorite song on this whole album is Paper Airplanes Makeshift Wings. And that is such a underrated song. Like no one ever talks about that song, and it is my all-time favorite. Probably of the whole discography. Um, really fun song. Um, but yeah, a Sing the Sorrow, best album ever. I think everybody should listen to it at least one time. Phenomenal album. And what's really funny is Avenged Sevenfold was very inspired by AFI. And from listening to a lot of interviews with M Shadows, a lot of the career decisions they made were because AFI did it. They so desperately wanted to be just like AFI. It's so funny. Um, they M Shadows talks a lot about a lot of old school post-hardcore bands being a big inspiration on early Avenged Sevenfold, like Thrice, Poison the Well, and AFI. And I always thought that was really funny. There is a picture on the internet I found of Davey Havok and M Shadows sitting on a couch with Bam Margera, and it's so funny because those three people like you feel like those three people don't really belong together, but they also like kind of all sum up like the early 2000s. So it's just really funny. Um, Also, Sing the Sorrow came out the year that Waking the Fallen came out, and Rev used to wear a Sing the Sorrow shirt a lot. Actually, I think on his picture on the Resurrected album, he's wearing a Sing the Sorrow shirt. But yeah, phenomenal band, phenomenal album. And yeah, I got really nostalgic and emotional during this. I didn't expect that. Music just kind of does that to me. But yeah, I just wanted to do something different, something new, something. I want to open up a bunch of different avenues for this channel, branch into other things besides just video games, but still want to do video games, but um, I think the podcast will mostly be video games, and then I'll do like tier lists and Sporkle stuff for like other mediums. Because my JoJo tier list got a lot of views in a very short amount of time. Granted, 20 views is not a lot, but it was within a couple hours, which never happens for me, especially since I'm such a new channel. But yep. Um, Thanks for watching, or listening, I guess. If you made it this far, um, I never intended to make so many long videos, but I mean that's kind of the thing on YouTube now, right? Um, Also, I never wanted to be one of those people, but I'm just gonna really quick say like and subscribe because I hear that that actually works. So like and subscribe, if you like. Um, yeah. So, and if you happen to stumble across this video, maybe leave in the comments your favorite album or one of your favorite albums or your favorite band. I'd love to hear. Maybe I'll hear something new that I haven't heard before. And it doesn't just have to be rock and metal. I love all kinds of music. Um, but yeah, so this has been my Topsters, my album favorite albums. Again, I love a bunch of different albums from all these bands and some albums not from these bands, but these were the main 25 that I wanted to cover, and I wanted to cover a whole variety of artists. So yeah, um, I will see you in the next video, whatever that is, or whenever I make it. Bye.